Rasslin Review.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Retro Rasslin Review. It is I, your host, Troy, and today we are hopping on our time-traveling wrestling ring and going way back to talk about the Dynamite Kid. That's right. I know I've been off for a few weeks, but I wanted to make it up to you with 2 weeks in a row of the Dynamite Kid. I want to review some of his greatest matches from Calgary, Japan, and America. So our first week here, we are going to be covering some of his famous matches against Tiger Mask. He's had countless matches with Tiger Mask, and we are going to be talking all about that today and watching along to 2 of his classic matches against him. One from Japan, one from Madison Square Garden in the United States. And next week we're going to be going to Calgary, the Stampede promotion, territory, whatever you want to call it, to review Dynamite Kid versus Bret Hart before he became the Hitman. So, for those that don't know, he was the subject, Dynamite Kid that is, he was the subject of the mid-season finale of Dark Side of the Ring. If nobody has seen that, or if you have not seen that yet, definitely go back and check that out. It was on Vice. Dark Side of the Ring is one of my favorite shows ever. The episode was pretty dark, pretty grim in certain areas. I mean, obviously, it's called Dark Side of the Ring. However, it was very informative, a very good episode. You got to hear things you never heard before, perspectives you never heard from before, from his ex-wife, from his daughters. It was a very good watch, I will say, and it put some things into perspective. I mean, it might make you hate him more, it might make you like him more, or it might not change your opinion whatsoever. But there is no doubt about it. The Dynamite Kid is one of the greatest professional wrestlers to ever do it. He paid the ultimate price for his art, basically. He put his body through hell. He was in a wheelchair before he was 40. It was a sad, sad story. Obviously, he pumped himself up on steroids and other things. You get to hear in the episode from some of his best friends, like Scott McGee, who I was unaware of. I think he was a prelim wrestler that wrestled for a while, and I think he suffered a stroke and decided he was done. He was never going to wrestle again. And then there was also Dan Spivey. If anybody knows Dan Spivey, he was Whale of Mercy for a little while in the WWF. He wrestled before that as himself in WWF years before that, and he was also in WCW for a long time as one half of the Skyscrapers. He wrestled solo as well. So, yeah, they were 2 of Dynamite's closest friends, and it's a great look back on him. And we're going to be talking more about him, obviously, during this episode, during next week's episode, but I wanted to bring you 2 weeks because there's so much great stuff to cover with the Dynamite Kid. I wanted to talk about all of that and kind of his beginnings, where things ended up, all that good stuff. We're going to get into the good, the bad, the ugly right here on these episodes. But before we get into our first match, which is going to be Dynamite Kid versus Tiger Mask from Madison Square Garden in 1982, we're going to take a really quick break. And when we come back, we're diving into our first match that we will watch along to. Main Event Marks is a retro pro wrestling podcast hosted by 2 lifelong wrestling marks and walking wrestling encyclopedias, Troy and Greg. Every Wednesday, we do a breakdown and review from a fan's perspective on some of wrestling's biggest and most forgotten shows ever, along with the industry news from that time period, taking you back in history to when that event took place. Main Event Marks is available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Follow us on social media at @MainEvent_Marks. Alright, thanks for coming back and joining us here on Retro Rasslin Review. We're going to be watching along to Tiger Mask versus Dynamite Kid, Madison Square Garden, 1982. So, this one is not on, I usually use YouTube, which I will use for the rest of these matches, but this one I can only find on Daily Motion. I will provide the link in the podcast description if you want to watch along. We are starting at all zeros. The video itself is only 8 minutes, 21 seconds long, so it's a quick one, but I've never seen a bad match between Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid, so let's get into this. I'm going to have my personal assistant, Grace, personal digital assistant, Grace, count us down from 3 to 2 to 1. When she says play, we're all going to hit that play button at the same time. So here we go.
3, 2, 1, play.
And starting off, Dynamite Kid is in trunks for this one. So this was obviously early on. He switched to the tights not too long after this. There for a while he was wearing a long singlet, kind of like what Bret Hart would end up wearing. Tiger Mask has, I believe, that is the WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship, I want to say. They did have a Junior Heavyweight Championship for a while. They discontinued it in the 80s. They decided they were going to switch more to the Ultra Heavyweights, not concentrate on the smaller guys like Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid, people like that. I actually have a Jakks figure of the Dynamite Kid. I think it's the only Dynamite Kid toy ever made. I could be wrong, but I want to say I bought it from Toys R Us years ago, and he's in just plain red tights, this color red, and those boots. And here we go, we're jump starting the match here. It looked like Dynamite was going to go right after Tiger Mask, but kind of backed up a little bit. Ooh, spin kick attempt by Tiger Mask, went nowhere. Dynamite is kind of jacked up at this point. There's a leg trip on old Dynamite. So, kind of getting into a little bit here of on Dynamite Kid's story. Real name, his name is Tom Billington. He was born on the 5th of December, 1958, and he actually died, oddly enough, on his birthday, on his 60th birthday. He was born in Goulburn, Lancashire, England, and he died in Wigan, Greater Manchester, England. Michelle, his first wife, was the one. He married her in 82, divorced in 91. That was the one that was on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, kind of running down a lot about Dynamite's story here. So Dynamite actually got married this year, right here, this match we're watching. There's that Tiger spin, taking him down with a drop toe hold, and now he's holding the legs here. So he has 3 children, 2 daughters, 1 son. His son declined to be on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, not because he didn't support it, but according to the makers of the episode, he's a little camera shy, so he's a very private person, didn't really want to be on camera, but his 2 daughters were. Dynamite was only 5'9", and at his biggest, I'd say 225 pounds. So, he was trained by a lot of people in the, back in Wigan. He had the crap beat out of him during his training, so that's why he was such a tough guy. There's a bombs away knee off the middle rope by Dynamite Kid. 1, 2, kick out by Tiger Mask. He actually debuted on Christmas Eve, 1975. How about that? And he officially retired, never to wrestle again, on the 10th of October, 1996. That was after a return match he did in Japan. He did a return match in Japan. It was a 6-man tag, I believe. He was on one side of the ring. Tiger Mask was on the other side of the ring. Dynamite was very small. He couldn't move around very well. It was pretty sad to see. He kind of reverted back to the size he was when he started, before he started working out a lot, taking a lot of steroids. He was a very, very small dude. And there's some agility shown by Tiger Mask as he hops around, gets out of the head scissors, and now they're back facing each other. Circling in the ring here. He actually married his second wife, Dot Billington, in 1997 after he stepped out of the ring officially. Let's see, and there's a regular suplex. He's known for his snap suplexes, but there's just a regular one. Still had some authority on that one. You can tell Dynamite's influence on people like Chris Benoit and Daniel Bryan. Bryan does his... Dynamite used to do the front drop kick off the top rope and then kip up out of it. And that's what Dynamite does that. Did that. Bryan does that. There's a Tiger feint kick. Teasing the dive outside of the ring. Tiger Mask doesn't go through with it. And apparently, watching this here, Dynamite Kid had one hair versus hair match against Bruce Hart in, it doesn't give an actual date, it just says the 1980s in the Stampede territory. Bruce won, Dynamite lost, he had to shave his head. There's an interesting note, I had no idea about that, but there's a leg trip, and toe hold there, kind of almost like a figure four, Indian Deathlock style move there. So, in 91, he divorced his first wife, Michelle. She is a sister of Bret Hart's then-wife, Julie, with whom Billington had one son and two daughters, Merrick, Bronwyn, and Amaris. Merrick is his son, Bronwyn and Amaris are his daughters. Following the end of his marriage with Michelle, he moved from Canada back home to Goulbourn with his parents. There he married for a second time a woman named Dot. With her, he had three stepsons, John, Stephen, and Mark. Before his death, Billington had two granddaughters, Miami and Taya. He is now survived by two more grandchildren, Maddox and Harlow. Billington was a close friend with Wayne Hart. When Billington was living in Calgary, they co-owned an apartment together where they lived with their respective girlfriends. So, Dynamite Kid going up top, flying headbutt, missed in the center of the ring. Nobody home. Crash and burn. No water in the pool for the Dynamite Kid. The thing about Wayne Hart, by the way, is according to the makers of Dark Side of the Ring, Wayne still lives there. Like, it was a house they owned together, and Wayne still owns it, and he still lives there, apparently. Tiger Mask, with a moonsault, 1, 2, 3, that's it. Tiger Mask wins. There you go. After that missed headbutt, Tiger Mask wins the match, retains his title. And that's all she wrote. Howard Finkel, about to make the official announcement. Tiger Mask wins. Dynamite still holding his head from that missed headbutt. So, stuff like this didn't usually go down this style of wrestling didn't usually go down anywhere during this time period, but especially in Madison Square Garden in 1982, that just didn't happen. So, if anybody was watching along, it was quite a spectacle, and I hope you enjoyed what you saw there. We're going to actually watch along to one more of these matches, but before that, we're going to pause real quick, take another quick break, and right after this, we're going to get into Tiger Mask versus Dynamite Kid. This is their second encounter ever in All Japan Pro Wrestling from Budokan Hall in November 1985. We'll be right back. Main Event Marks is a retro pro wrestling podcast hosted by two lifelong wrestling marks and walking wrestling encyclopedias, Troy and Greg. Every Wednesday, we do a breakdown and review from a fan's perspective on some of wrestling's biggest and most forgotten shows ever, along with the industry news from that time period, taking you back in history to when that event took place. Main Event Marks is available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Follow us on social media at @mainevent_marks. Alright, everybody, we're back, and that means we can get into our second and final match of the show. The podcasts are sometimes going to be a little shorter, sometimes going to be a little longer. Today is going to be a little shorter, as you can tell. We're covering two fairly short but dynamic matches here, but there's a lot to cover on these shows. I'm going to squeeze a lot of stuff into a short amount of time. But our second match here, if you guys want to pull it up, it's labeled on YouTube as Dynamite Kid versus Tiger Mask 2 AJPW Budokan Hall show, and in parentheses, November 85. So we're going to be watching along to that one. We're going to be starting at all zeros yet again for this. So if you want to watch along, go ahead and pull that up, starting at triple zeros, and my virtual personal assistant, Grace, is going to count us down from 3 to 2 to 1. And when she says play, we're all going to hit that play button. All right, here we go.
3, 2, 1, play.
And here we see Dynamite Kid is officially in his red tights now. Tiger Mask being handed the bouquet of flowers. That is actually the look of Dynamite Kid that Jax figure I was talking about earlier, the classic Legends figure, looks just like that. He's in those tights and those boots. He's got that hair. So that's the look. Tiger Mask, I know he probably wouldn't be able to get a figure made of him by WWE, but if Mattel could make a figure of Tiger Mask, that would be awesome. I would love that. So here we are, starting off with the match hasn't officially started yet. They're checking them out, making sure they don't have any foreign objects on them, or when they discontinued the word foreign in Turner, they called it an international object for a while in the NWA. That was something. I take it back. The Dynamite Kid I have doesn't quite look like that, because he actually has his name down the side of his tights and on his butt, or he's got a logo on his butt. Mine is just plain red, and he doesn't have black knee pads, but close enough. There he's got the arm twist. These guys are just, the thing is, they were so smooth and agile, and they flipped around a lot, but they made it look like a real struggle, and they were in a real fight. They were just really acrobatic, and it was tit for tat, and all that. So, but this was smooth, but not too smooth. So that's the problem with, when people compare like something to like this to, say, when Will Ospreay and Ricochet had that very divisive match a couple of years ago. That one looked too smooth, too pretty, in a lot of people's opinions, where it's like, it didn't look like they were in a struggle. It looked like they were telling each other, it's like, okay, I do this, then you do that, and then I do this, and you do that, and we flip here, and then, you jump there. This one was a legit struggle, and look at that. Dynamite Kid even throwing Tiger Mask's face into the ring post, or turnbuckle. There's that snap suplex for a 1 count. Dynamite had one of the most vicious snap suplexes of all time. Chris Benoit obviously emulated that. There he's got a head scissors on him while trapping the arm at the same time. Very good looking hold there. On the next episode, we're going to get into, the famous story of Jacques Rougeau and Dynamite Kid. It's probably the most famous Dynamite Kid story, where he took the ribbing just a little too far with Jacques Rougeau. Well, I guess he didn't rib him. He got ribbed, and Jacques was believed to be, the one who caused it. So that's why he went after Jacques, and then Jacques went after him. It was crazy. Running crossbody by Tiger Mask, kick out by Dynamite Kid, just at the 2. But I guess there was a time where Bruce Hart broke Dynamite Kid's jaw. Or no, I'm sorry. He reversed that. Dynamite broke Bruce Hart's jaw. So I don't know if that was intentional. I'm not seeing the exact story here. And they didn't really talk about it on the Dark Side of the Ring episode. We'll definitely talk about, details about the Jacques Rougeau incident next week when we cover Dynamite and Brett. So if any of you have not seen the Dark Side episode, I will talk about it next week. And if none of you have really heard about it, I'll talk about that. We'll also talk about kind of the end of his life and everything that happened with him. Here's a Boston Crab by the Dynamite Kid. Yeah, we're going to be talking all things towards the end of his life next week. And the unfortunate incident with Jacques Rougeau. But looking kind of a career retrospective here, Dynamite left the WWF in 1988, and he went back to Stampede Wrestling, and then he also wrestled in England and Japan from 88 to 96. He did take a break there for a while before 96, where he wasn't really seen for very long. There you see the Mexican surfboard stretch there by Dynamite Kid, dropping Tiger Mask there. Vicious chops. And headbutts here. Snapmare on Tiger. And falling headbutt. Head to head. I'd heard he liked to lay those headbutts in. I hope he didn't when he was connecting with the head of Tiger Mask there. Tiger Mask gets up with those vicious kicks and going for a tombstone. But Dynamite is reversing it, and he's up. He's got him. Tombstone. 1, 2. Tiger Mask, foot on the bottom rope. That was another move that Chris Benoit liked to do. You could tell he looked a lot like the Dynamite Kid, had the same kind of body type, especially when he really worked out. And I don't know if it's alleged or if it's I believe it was proven Chris Benoit did a lot of steroids. And when he did that, he looked a lot like Dynamite Kid. So he emulated him. He took his style and his look all at the same time. And you see Dynamite throwing Tiger Mask right out of the ring. Very thin pads here in Japan, it looks like. It might be thicker than I'm giving it credit for, but looks like Tiger Mask might have hurt his ankle on the way out. Yeah, the Bulldogs stopped getting along after a while. And Davey kind of wanted to go at it on his own. I don't think Dynamite was super happy with everything. They did, if anybody goes back to WrestleMania 2, I'm going to warn you, the show itself is a bit of a slog, but they come to the ring with Ozzy Osbourne for that one. They wrestle for the tag team titles against the Dream Team of, that was Brutus Beefcake before he became the Barber. Cover 1, 2, and kick out by Tiger Mask. That was a unique cover. But the British Bulldogs wrestled, it was Bruce pre-Barber Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine, the Dream Team. They wrestled them for the tag team titles of the world, and they won. And in my opinion, that was the best match of the entire show, was that tag match. And WrestleMania 2, for those that don't remember, was spread out across 3 venues. So there were 3 different cards taking place on the same night, and they kept going back and forth to the different venues. Tiger Mask up and over, and there's a spin kick, taking him into the corner, going in for a monkey flip, and there he goes. Running drop kick, and Dynamite's outside the ring. A photographer took a spill there, and nobody home for Tiger Mask when he did the dive over the top rope to the outside. Slingshot, nobody home, crash and burn. I always liked this All Japan Pro Wrestling ring because, the ring mat is split in the center. I think Ring of Honor did something like that for a little while, or half of it. And bringing him in, snap suplex over the top rope. 1, 2, kick out by Tiger Mask. But the color is like half and half, but it's like diagonal from one corner to another. And half is red, half is like a light blue. I just missed Dynamite hit a big clothesline for a near fall on Tiger Mask. Mick Foley talked about that clothesline, that running clothesline he did. It was real vicious. And he said when he did it to Mick Foley, he hit him right in the jaw and dislocated his jaw early on in the match. There's a big superplex by Dynamite Kid. Watching more Dynamite, you can see Chris Benoit, really, even his facials look a lot like Dynamite Kid's. Dynamite looks like his nose is busted up there. He's got a little blood coming from his nose. Reversal into the barricade. They got those steel guardrails. And then he sends Dynamite Kid face first into the ring post. So Dynamite went to throw Tiger Mask into the guardrail. Tiger Mask reversed it. Dynamite hit it back first, and then Tiger Mask threw him face first, into the ring post. Trying to bring him into the ring the hard way. And no, Dynamite, oh my good lord. Dynamite was on the apron. Tiger Mask tried to bring him into the ring with a suplex, but he blocked it, and Dynamite with a suplex to the outside of the ring, right on the mats to Tiger Mask. There he goes, Dynamite slamming Tiger Mask into the apron, but no! Back suplex on the ring, the outside mats by Tiger Mask. Good grief, these two are brawling outside the ring. Tiger Mask is back in now. Is Dynamite starting to stand up, and he's got muscles on muscles, man. I guess they got both counted out, so it's a draw. These two, Tiger Mask, this is Tiger Mask 2 that he's facing, I believe. So Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask go to a draw here at the Budokan Hall show. Double count out. My word. So that's the end of that one. Yeah, what I was referring to earlier here with WrestleMania 2, Dynamite Kid actually made his WWF debut on August 29th, 1984, where he and Bret Hart defeated Iron Mike Sharp and Troy Alexander, don't know who he is, in a match eventually shown on the 15th of September in 84 on the Maple Leaf Garden broadcast. In 85, Dynamite Kid would end up teaming with Davey Boy Smith as the British Bulldogs, while Bret would turn heel and team with Jim Neidhart as the Hart Foundation. And it led to matches between the two teams that usually ended in no contests. On April 7th of April 1986, accompanied by Captain Lou Albano and Ozzy Osbourne. The British Bulldogs won the WWF World Tag Team titles from Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake at WrestleMania 2. So there you go. I left out Captain Lou. I forgot he was with them as well. But yeah, unfortunately, Dynamite Kid would suffer a serious injury in a tag match that took place in December of '86 in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, against Don Morocco and Cowboy Bob Orton. And several wrestlers, including Roddy Piper, Junkyard Dog, and Billy Jack Haynes, would substitute for him when the tag title defenses were made. Well, I believe that's a famous one where he did a drop. Bob Orton did a drop down. He jumped over him, and he goes against the ropes, and Don Morocco puts his knee up, and he barely connects with the knee. I guess his back gave out when he jumped over Orton, and he kept running, and then when he connected with the knee, barely, it destroyed his back, and supposedly his discs, he had 2 discs that had to be removed. They were just shredded, and his back was destroyed after that. And yeah, that unfortunately led to him never wrestling again. I mean, he did continue to wrestle for a while after, but yeah, he'd be in a wheelchair, man, before he was 40. Sad thing, but alright, well, that's the end of episode 1 of our Dynamite Kid twofer. Thank you for being patient with us here at with me at Retro Rasslin Review. If you want to hear more from me, go check out the Main Event Marks. That posts every Wednesday. Anywhere you get podcasts. We're also on Twitter, or YouTube. We are on Twitter, but we're also on YouTube. If you want to follow us on social media, Retro Rasslin Review, we are at Retro Rasslin Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And we are, you can search for the Main Event Marks on Instagram and Twitter at main event_marks. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/main event marks pod. Thank you for checking us out. Main Event Marks also covers a lot of retro wrestling, but we do it in like long form events, and we also cover the news and notes from the time of the events we're covering. Whereas this show, we focus on individual matches and talk about people rather than events and, news and notes and all that good stuff. But, alright, well, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week with more Dynamite Kid. Stay retro.